We listen, we look, we pay attention to the life that swirls all around us all of the time, and we attempt to become greater, more knowledgeable, more understanding, more empathic, because of all of the things that we witness. In this week's Torah reading, called Yitro, which is about Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, we find at the very beginning of the parsha the words Vayishma Yitro, and Jethro heard. What did Jethro hear? He heard what all of the nations of the world had heard. He heard that the Israelite nation had escaped from Egypt, that the great Pharaoh and his Egyptian army had drowned in the Sea of Reeds, and that Israel had come across to the other side singing a great song of triumph, and every nation of the world had gotten wind of this. It was the talk behind all of the curtains. Every individual knew about what had happened with the Israelite nation and their God. And we say, in last week's Torah reading, in the Shirat Hayam, in the middle of the Song of the Sea, in chapter 15, all of the nations heard, and they trembled. Well, they trembled because I guess they were fearful about what crossing the path of the Israelite nation could possibly do to them. As swiftly as that knowledge was gained, so it was forgotten. The nations heard, they trembled, the moment passed, and it was a blur in the memory bank. Not so with Jethro, though. When it says Vayishma Yitro, when Jethro heard, he didn't just hear with his ears and a momentary shudder passing through his body, but rather he heard and understood something far more complex and large than he'd ever imagined to be so. Because remember, Jethro was a Kohen Midian. He was a Midianite priest, a polytheist, an idolater, somebody who worshipped many gods. And when he heard what had happened with the Israelite nation, he suddenly had a change of heart. He thought very deeply and understood that everything that he had believed up until this moment was false, wrong. That is greatness. Greatness is the ability to be able to hear with your ears, witness with your eyes, and understand that that which we have been learning and advocating may not have been 100%. This truly is the definition of a great person. A great person is an individual who is able to hear and integrate, and then understand on the deepest level what they have heard, and have their character as a result change because of it. In the same Torah reading that we're looking at this week, just a few passages further, Jethro makes this pilgrimage to meet his son-in-law Moses, and it says Vayichad Yitro, and Jethro was full of joy. In fact, some of the commentators said he was so trembling with joy that his excitement almost exceeded his ability to be able to contain it. Jethro was joyful. Instead of raising the level of decibel, instead of shouting loud at Moses, or perhaps even shouting at the people in his own village, by saying, it couldn't have possibly been, it must have been a mirage, maybe the story was blown up well out of proportion, what people will do, what lengths they will go to defend an idea that they just can't let go of. Jethro was not of that quality. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Katz says his character was so sterling that from the moment that Jethro heard what had happened with the Israelite nation, he became a believer, somebody that understood. Perhaps the challenge that Jethro puts to all of us is the challenge of listening, the challenge of pathos, the challenge of acceptance. Instead of becoming like a mule, sticking our feet down deep into the dirt and refusing to budge. Instead, with open ears and an open mind, we truly can enlarge the scope of our soulful being. Shabbat Shalom.